Well, I will not be as effusive in my praise as Democratic Party Chairman McNamara was a few minutes ago. I will say this about, and my comments relate specifically to this amendment, but also to this budget as a whole. Speaker Mattiello, since he took over in 2014, this is the third budget process we've gone through, and contrary to the budgets I had to deal with as a representative prior to that, where I found myself sitting there thinking, what on earth are we doing? I will give credit where it's due, and for the most part, for the last few years, including last year when I supported the budget, there weren't many things in the budget that I said, that's a terrible idea. But these are missed opportunities. As Whip Blazewski was just discussing, budgets are a matter of priorities. When you show someone your budget, in any context, it shows you where your priorities lie. My biggest criticism with this budget, and this amendment is an attempt to fix that, is that the budget does not really do that much for the middle class. Yes, we talk about beach fee reductions, but judging a $9 billion budget on beach fee reductions is akin to judging a steakhouse meal by the quality of the after-dinner mints, okay? So we have here something in this budget that is a good idea. We have another amendment coming up, which I'm not going to repeat myself on. If you'll give me some leeway, I'm not going to get up twice, to try to improve the tax credit or the elimination of state income tax on pension retirement income, which is an idea we proffered. It's in here as a starter. We don't think it goes far enough. Do you want to help the middle class of Rhode Island or not? Because what this budget does is it does in every budget that I've seen here, and before I got elected, it does a lot for the poor in this state, which we should do. We have an obligation to do that, and this budget, like all of our budgets, does a lot of that. And it does a lot for well-connected people who can hire high-priced lobbyists to come in and lobby for various things. The Commerce Corporation is asking and getting a lot of money in this budget to do all kinds of, whatever term you want to use, corporate welfare is a pejorative, but it's true. Now, everyone's going to point to GE and say, well, GE was a big success. It looks like GE might be a big success. But then we had $5 million spent on a tourism campaign that went nowhere. Representative Shikarchi and I were on Lively Experiment just last week. We had this debate. You can't unilaterally disarm when it comes to incentives. I get that. I'm not trying to be an ideologue here. But the idea of funneling all of this money to an administration that, except for just this past week with GE, has not proven successful at all in attracting things to the state, I find highly questionable. And that kind of financial help only goes, frankly, to the rich and the well-connected. So what we have is a budget that helps the poor and it helps the rich and the well-connected, but does not help the middle class. I was here, I voted against it, but I was here when the car tax, which is in fact not technically a state tax, but let's call it what it is. It was the state that phased it out through the program back in 1999 or 2000. I was here when we had to re-implement the car tax. The car tax is terrible. One of the few things I ever agree with our former Governor Chafee on is the burden that property taxes place on the taxpayers and hard workers in this state. Property taxes, of which car taxes are the worst, are something we should be trying to phase out, and this is a good proposal to try to do it. We need more middle-class relief in this state, because you know who does not have lobbyists that come into this building? The poor, they may not realize it, but they've got plenty of lobbyists. They've got government activists, they have nonprofit lobbyists that come in and lobby for them all the time. The rich, they've got lobbyists too. But the middle class in this state has been getting squeezed for years and years. And this amendment is a good proposal that everyone here should get behind, as is our second amendment, which we'll put in a little while, which I'm not going to get up and speak on, at least not initially, unless someone says something. But that is the problem with this budget. It helps the poor, it helps the rich. It does not really help the vast majority of our constituents. It doesn't hurt them, and I give credit where it's due, but it doesn't help them enough. And that's why I will not be able to support this budget and why I think we should all support this amendment.